Labdien, cienījamie klātesošie!
Hello, dear visitors. We are beginning the joint press conference of Catherine Tai, Trade Representative of the United States of America, and the Foreign Affairs Minister of the Republic of Latvia, Edgars Rinkevičs. And it is available also online, and interpretation is being provided. Now I give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dear colleagues, we just concluded a conversation with Madame Tai, Trade Representative of the United States of America, and well, let's say we say Trade Minister in accordance with our terminology, and this is how we also work in bilateral context of the relationship between the United States and EU. We had an opportunity to discuss bilateral economic relations of US and EU. Also, I am glad that after this meeting, the colleague will be able to meet our information technology company representatives, speak about opportunities for investment, cooperation opportunities among such companies, IT companies. We have great interest in having our IT companies as much as possible to be visible in the United States of America, and this is why we are also, we welcome investment, and we discussed this. We also discussed Rail Baltic development, and this is where we also want to see investors from the United States and broader cooperation, economic cooperation with our strategic partner. Another block of questions we discussed very broadly is EU and US trade relationship. Basically, global trade matters. And I am really also satisfied and happy that EU and US trade dialogue, although sometimes not easy, but develops in a good manner, positive manner. And I must say that the contacts in between the Commission, Vice President Dombrovskis and Madame Tai, they are regular, and they contact very well. And now, in geopolitical conditions we face, both war in Ukraine and the scope of the problems that occur with China, People's Republic of China, it requires a closer economic cooperation and coordination among the countries that are thinking in a united way, in the same way. This is US and thinking alike nations, and the cooperation is very important. From my part, from our part, we as the member state of the European Union, we support close and active cooperation among between EU and US. Also, we discussed several issues. I think that it was yesterday when we returned from OECD meeting of ministers. Within OECD, there were several questions on our agenda. We discussed matters very important today, like how to promote maybe less this dependency and diversify the critical infrastructure, mineral supplies, very specific it seems, but it is important for our economy. Also, I would like to say that this is what I have nothing else to say, and maybe the colleague will have her introduction words, and we are ready for reply to your questions also. And now, Catherine Tai.
President-elect Rinkevičs, hello everyone. Thank you all for being here. This is my first visit to Riga as the United States Trade Representative. It's also my first visit to Riga as a human being, and I have to tell you, I'm so impressed with what I've seen just in the few hours I've been here with respect to Riga's rich culture, its history, and this incredibly elegant architecture. I will have an opportunity to explore some more and walk around Old Town Riga to visit some important historical sites. I'm really looking forward to it. First, I joined Secretary Blinken in congratulating President-elect Rinkevich on his recent election. Latvia is a friend and close NATO ally, and we look forward to continuing our close partnership with the President-elect and the Prime Minister, whom I met earlier today. I'm also delighted, as the President-elect mentioned, I spend a lot of time working very closely with European Executive Vice President Valdis Dombrovskis. And as a result of my visit today, I have been able to expand my circle of close Latvian friends, which is really an honor and a delight. Last year, our two countries, the United States and Latvia, celebrated 100 years of diplomatic relations. We reaffirmed our shared commitment to democracy, freedom, rule of law, mutual security, and prosperity. My visit this week is very timely because our countries face a lot of important shared challenges. Our economies are recovering from a devastating pandemic, and at the same time, Russia's brutal, unjustified attack on Ukraine continues to upend countless lives. But our two countries are positioned to emerge stronger as a united front. Latvia's steadfast support for Ukraine has been praised by the entire international community. Since before Russia launched its invasion, President Biden has worked to build a global coalition of countries that can support Ukraine. Latvia is an integral member of this group, and together we will do all that we can to strengthen Ukraine's ability to defend itself and to recover and to rebuild. Last month, the leaders of the G7 countries imposed new sanctions and export controls against Russia's assets. I want to stress how important it is that we continue to work together to keep the pressure on Putin and combat sanctions evasion. I also want to commend Latvia for its work in addressing the unfair practices of non-market economies, such as economic coercion, by economies like Russia and the People's Republic of China. Pushing back against unfair competition also means that we need to cooperate on strengthening our critical supply chains and infrastructure. Latvia has taken important steps to do so. I was just in Sweden last week for the 4th Trade and Technology Council ministerial meeting. Once again, the TTC put a spotlight on all of the valuable cooperation that we are pursuing on a wide range of issues and shared challenges on behalf of the United States and the European Union. If we consider everything trade-related that the United States and EU have done over the last 2.5 years, both inside and outside the TTC, I will admit, I think our track record is pretty impressive. We have, of course, always more work to do to build our economies, as President Biden says, from the bottom up and from the middle out. And I look forward to deepening our engagement toward that goal. Thank you very much.
Paldies. Vai būtu jautājums mēdījiem? Lūgums stādīt.
And now, do we have any questions from the media? You can ask questions both in Latvian and in English, and please identify whom you are asking the question. Krišs Kairis from Latvia State Television. Madame Tai, thank you very much for enjoying also Riga. That is actually good news, indeed. And to both state officials, I would like to address a question regarding the economic cooperation between US and Latvia. How US views Latvia as a small country, as a separate part of something of EU, part of EU, and this would be easier to cooperate. So is it a small country or part of the EU?
I think it's a matter of fact that Latvia is a small country and that it is also a part of the EU. But let me take a step back and talk a little bit about the value of the US-Latvian relationship bilaterally. One of the things that we are most proud of in accomplishing during the Biden administration is being able to adapt to global challenges. And certainly with respect to the pandemic, with respect to economic coercion, with respect to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we see the accomplishments that we have made in building and rebuilding to newer heights the transatlantic relationship and partnership. And I want to really focus on US and Latvia. Latvia's conviction, its sense of purpose, and the strength of Latvia's voice, even being a smaller country, but given Latvia's own very personal experience historically, I think is an aspect of a powerful leadership in building this transatlantic partnership. You see that also economically in terms of the dialogue that I have had today with the Prime Minister and the President-elect, but also reflected in Brussels in terms of the partnership that I have built over the last 2 years with the Executive Vice President Valdis Dombrovskis. I think all of this is a testament to how critically we value Latvia's voice and perspective, both in the bilateral relationship and also as part of this larger US-EU relationship.
Piemetināšu divas lietas. Pirmkārt,
I will also add two things. The power we have is within the fact that we are in EU. Together with the other 26 member states, we are working towards promotion of trade, cooperation, creating beneficial investment environment, and also with the United States of America. We have several times already highlighted, and also with State Secretary Blinken, Madam Sherman, and Ambassador and other public officials, and also with Madame Tai today. We have excellent cooperation in defense and security, and I am grateful for all the support over the course of the last couple of years has been provided to Latvia, also before that, but now it is especially, we want to see that economic cooperation is part of overall security cooperation also, and it also experiences development even more. That is the question about cooperation both in export, and also we have identified, but not only so, we have identified practical directions where we see that what now the US and EU does through various cooperation mechanisms, there's also a lot of our interest. For example, science, technology, in quantum field, in digital field. These are the discussions that are ongoing on the level of EU and US. And also, Madame Tai, after this press conference, is going to meet several of our representatives at the companies like LMT, and they are going to be discussing specific things, also simply familiarizing with the proposal already, with particular proposals. Yes, we are a small country, geographically, according to our population numbers, but we are indeed able to support the cooperation at a high level, qualitatively, and this is what we're talking about a lot. We have a broad scope of EU, the US relations, not so much related to maybe all fields, but considering we need to think about the regulations we need to create that is beneficial also to us as EU member state and also for our economic growth. Thank you very much. Any more questions? We can answer to one more. This time it's a question to Madame Tai only, and Mr. Rinkevich was talking about investment. I'm not going to ask about particular projects, but about the investment environment. Does the US, is Latvia interesting to the US as investment object? Because for us, this would mean like really a lot. This would be significant.
Well, certainly so. I think in my response to you earlier and also in the President-elect's response, you have gotten a flavor for the important principles underpinning our relationship with Latvia. On the trade and investment side, I think that given the challenges that we are facing right now in the world economy, I named the pandemic, the Russian war in Ukraine, but also the climate crisis, the digital transformation of our economies and our societies. There is so much that is changing around us in this world. Our focus is to work especially closely with those with whom we are the most like-minded, to deepen our relationships, to broaden our economic connectivity, to develop more resilience in our economies, and as a result, create more opportunities between us. So Latvia is, rightly so, because of our close defense, security relationship, but also this economic partnership that we are building EU-wide, but for Latvia specifically. Part of the reason that I am here is to see for myself, to build these relationships, to educate myself, to be able to be better informed and bring the insights that I gained from this trip back to Washington with me to think strategically about how we can further promote and champion the economic side of this relationship. And I think that where the economic policies and the security policies overlap with respect to Ukraine, with respect to this phenomenon of economic coercion, our partnership is already very strong. The question then is, how do we develop the potential on the trade and investment between us? And I see a lot of potential, and as the President-elect mentioned, I'll be getting to meet with more economic stakeholders. I'll be doing a visit at the Technical University again to gather more insights to bring back to Washington and the states with me to foster more dialogue and more development of opportunities for this particular part of the relationship.
Paldies cienījumām amatpersonām, paldies par jautājumiem. Ar šo paziņoju
Thank you for the questions, thank you for the answers, and this is how I